Hello and welcome to Academic Vocabulary Crash Course Lesson number 3. Now, as we've said from the beginning, the purpose of this crash course is to introduce you to some of the academic vocabulary words, some of really the questioning words you may encounter on any kind of test. And we want to know what those words mean and what the questions might look like. Also, finally, we want to know how can we answer those questions? Well, that's the goal of this series. Now, with each one of our series, with lesson 1 and lesson 2, we always start with a passage, a reading text, because as we introduce the words, we are going to have questions that reflect back to this so that we can show how to answer them. And hopefully that will help you on these tests. So with that said, let's get started. Our lesson for this week, or our passage for this week, for this lesson is going to be how electricity flows in a circuit. Electricity is an important form of energy that powers our homes, schools, and devices. It travels along circuits, which are pathways made up of wires, batteries, light bulbs, and switches. In science class, students learn that building a circuit takes careful planning and attention to detail. Engineers organize circuit components like wires, batteries, and bulbs into a clear plan to build a circuit. This organized approach helps everyone understand how the parts fit together. The class then looked at a diagram of a simple circuit. Students interpret the symbols on a circuit diagram to understand how electricity flows. By decoding the diagram, they learned which lines represent wires and how a battery connects to a light bulb. Next, the teacher sets up a hands-on experience. The teacher demonstrated how to build a simple circuit by connecting a battery to a light bulb. This live example showed the students how to put the parts together to let electricity flow. After that, the students examined a colorful chart that explained the movement of electricity. A colorful diagram illustrates the flow of electricity through a circuit, making it easy to understand. When they tested their own circuits, the students observed that the light only turned on when the circuit was complete. After testing the circuit, the students concluded that a complete circuit is needed for the light to turn on. Finally, during a group discussion, the students shared their designs. They justified their circuit design by explaining that all connections were secure and the components were completely arranged. Now, let's learn these words. Our first word is organize. Organize means to arrange into a structured whole or an order. As a question, you might be asked, what does the passage tell us about how the engineers organize the circuit components? Well, in the text, we saw that engineers organize circuit components like wires, batteries, and bulbs into a clear plan to build a circuit. So, what does it tell us about how they do it? You might answer it this way. The passage shows that the engineers organized the circuit components by arranging wires, batteries, and bulbs into a clear, structured plan, which helps build a functional circuit. I want you to notice a couple things. 1, we took what was in the text, we put it in our own words. 2, we used the word organize in our answer. We need to make sure that we're using part of the question in our answer, just to show that we understand what we're being asked to do. Our next word is interpret. Interpret means to explain the meaning of information or actions. As a question, you might be asked, based on the passage, what do the students interpret from the circuit diagram? Now, in the text, we see that students interpret the symbols on a circuit diagram to understand how electricity flows. So, what do they interpret from the circuit diagram? They just told us. Your answer might be, the students interpret the symbols on the diagram to understand how electricity flows through a circuit. Notice again, we have our answer, our keyword, our questioning word, our academic vocabulary there, and we put the text in our own words. Our next word is demonstrate. Demonstrate means to show clearly and deliberately, to present by example. Basically means you're showing how something works. As a question, you might say, how did the teacher demonstrate the process of building a circuit in the passage? How did the teacher show clearly and deliberately the process of building a circuit in the passage? In the passage, we saw the teacher demonstrated how to build a simple circuit by connecting a battery to a light bulb. So, how did they demonstrate it? You might say, the teacher demonstrated the process by connecting a battery to a light bulb, which clearly showed the students how electricity flows in a circuit. Next, we have the word illustrate. Illustrate means to explain or make something clear by using examples, charts, or pictures. As a question, you might hear them say, what does the diagram illustrate in the passage? In other words, what does the diagram explain or make more clear in the passage? In the text, we read, a colorful diagram illustrates the flow of electricity through a circuit, making it easy to understand. So you might say, the diagram illustrates the flow of electricity through a circuit, which makes it easier for the students to understand the concept. So we're saying what it illustrates. Our next word is conclude. Conclude means to bring something to an end, or to arrive at a judgment or opinion by reasoning. In a question, you might see it this way. What conclusion did the students reach after testing the circuit? In other words, what judgment did they come to? What opinion did they get? In the text, we said, after testing the circuit, the students concluded that a complete circuit is needed for the light to turn on. Well, can you figure out how to answer the question? We could say the students concluded that a complete circuit is necessary to turn the light on, because that's what it told us in the text. And our last word for this lesson is justify. Justify means to show or prove to be right or reasonable. As a question, you might see, how did the students justify their circuit design according to the passage? In the text, it said, they justified their circuit design by explaining that all connections were secure and the components were completely arranged. So, how did the students justify or show or prove that their circuit design was right or reasonable? You may answer it this way. They justified their circuit design by explaining that every connection was secure and the components were arranged correctly, which ensured that the circuit worked as intended. And that's the last of our 6 words for this lesson, but the 18 words we've covered in our crash course. That's all the words we're going to cover. In lesson 4, or video 4, it's just going to be flashcards, and we're going to be reviewing all those academic words and what they mean. Good luck.